love you all. You are the people making the future. DemCast around the world, around the country, and Jamie and Nick. So just give me guidance, and I am glad to follow your lead.
Well, if you guys don't know who Heather Booth is, she is a long time activist. I actually got to hear her speak several years ago, before we entered the pandemic in Iowa, and she really inspired and motivated me, which is why I invited her to join tonight. But she was one of the founders of Jane's, and right now abortion rights seems to be pretty heavy on everyone's mind. She's a progressive strategist. She's got a great listserv that she connects progressives from all over the country. And she's an honor to work with. And she is featured in the new HBO documentary that's coming out. So I wanted to invite her to give you all some inspiration of, we're not out of this fight yet.
Well, I know that DemCast is not out of the fight. You are in the fight. You are the people who are doing the action, who are making it possible to actually win for the rest of our lives. This is not just about a week or a month or even a midterm, as important as that is, and it's critically important. But this is about a struggle for justice, freedom, and democracy, dignity for all people. And that's what I know DemCast works for, has worked for, and will be working for. I came on particularly because Jamie asked me, and I am glad truly to follow any place that Jamie is. And I thank you, Nick, for doing the gathering, helping to gather us together and welcoming us in. So for all of you around the country and all of you on the Zoom, I'm going to largely focus on what is the path forward, and how, if we put our minds to it, our bodies to it, our action to it, how when we organize, we have changed this world, and when we organize now, we will change this world. I particularly wanted to do this because right now it's a rough time in the country. The country as a whole, the mood is sour. People are dispirited, depressed. Our movement is often dispirited and depressed, and there are reasons for it. Partly we've been locked up with COVID for so long, and now there's a resurgence of COVID, and many people are not even masking. What does that even mean? We look at the news, and there's, the war in Ukraine, and where does that go? Inflation is on the rise, the gas prices, the food prices, and then this baby formula issues, as well as we haven't yet achieved the success of passing the things that we worked so hard for when we had the extraordinary victories in the last election. There are many reasons for being frustrated in this time. And we also know midterms have a headwind against us, and that's the historical pattern. But we have overcome the historical patterns before. And when we organize, it is the only way out of depression and despair and moving forward is that we take action individually and as a movement and an organization. And so I wanted to share with you 6 or so reasons that I think there is a way forward that can be a way toward victory, and you truly will be making the difference. And then we can open up for see if there's some time for conversation on it. It's important that we carry this message, and the first reason is that we have to understand the consequences and what the alternative of not being active and energized and engaged and fighting, and bring this message to others. What are the consequences of acting or not acting? What would 2 Senate seats do? 2 more Senate seats, passing childcare, senior care, lowering prescription drug prices, addressing the climate disasters. The number of things we could do if we had 2 more Senate seats. The number of things we could do for a democracy if we had the governorships and secretaries of state and attorney general positions. So we have to know the consequences of our acting or not acting. The second thing to remember is that we actually are the majority of this country in the popular vote if everyone voted. We certainly, that was true in the prior election, where Biden won, Biden-Harris ticket won by over 7 million more votes. That was true in 2020. It's hard to remember a year before the election, people thought Trump was going to win, but we made the difference. And every president since 1988 has won, who won the popular vote has been a Democrat, except the year 2004. And even that year is somewhat in contest. Since 1988, now we weren't in all the right places. We didn't have all the control of the tools of deciding, like the Supreme Court, in part because the Supreme Court itself is appointed by presidents, the justices, so-called justices, they don't know actually what justice is. They've been appointed, the ones who might overturn Roe, just as one example, are justices who were appointed by presidents who did not win the popular vote and do not represent the popular will. But we should remember that we actually are a majority of this country, in fact, on many, many issues, an overwhelming majority. And so the issue of turnout in the election, turning out those people who share the views that we have, we share the views that they have. This is not about culture wars or about who hit whom. This is about whether or not we will move forward in the interests of most people, and they are for the direction that we want to see, and we want to see their direction. So turnout is key. On the other hand, a third reason why I believe we can win in the midterms if we move forward is that there are a number of issues that are breaking our way or motivating people because they're not breaking our way. That will be a basis for exposing what's going on and can be a basis for persuasion. So we need turnout and we need persuasion. Just one example, January 6th, these commission hearings that are going to start, and I think they'll go through June 21st or so. It was an announcement about it today. Jamie may know more of the details. This has the goods, we are told, on what this was a criminal attack on our country by those who planned, paid for, and are promoting this criminal attack on our country. And I give you that as a message, by the way, to take. A criminal attack on our country by those who planned, paid for, and are promoting this undermining of democracy, this criminal attack on our country by a MAGA extremist Republicans. And every part of that message is important for us to take. Partly hearing criminal attack makes more sense to people than just conspiracy. As important as that is, or even the word coup. And it's an attack on our country, not just on our government or on the Capitol. And it wasn't just that day, January 6th. It was planned, paid for, promoted. It's been an ongoing plot. And that this was the politicians who are in support of it. And a way to describe them that makes sense to people is to talk about an extremist MAGA Republicans, or even not just saying Trump Republicans, not bad to say that, but it's beyond Trump. And to say extremist and MAGA, because it's not every Republican. After all, Liz Cheney's on the January 6th commission, and there is a persuasion effort. It's not the major thing, it's not the major number of votes, but turnout will matter and persuasion will matter. So those are the first three reasons. The first is understanding the consequences. The second, to know we are a majority in this country on the issues, but we have to do turnout, and also know that there's a basis for persuasion. And January 6th will give us a key inroad into that persuasion. The fourth reason is that if this election is posed not as a referendum, did Biden or a member of Congress do everything that they promised that we voted to do? We haven't yet fulfilled those hopes. But if this is a choice between one real candidate and another real candidate, we are moving forward. Someone I saw asked, what are the key races that we need to look at? Right now, and I'm going to go through what some of them are, Again, there may be other opinions. This is one opinion coordinated from a number of perspectives that are shared. On the Senate side, we are mostly supporting, or many of the people we're supporting are incumbents. So we're not fighting each other in primaries, but the Republicans are fighting each other, and all the bad things they say about each other are true. And also there are a bunch of nutcases at both the Senate level and at the governor level. And then if you go down to Attorney General or secretaries of state, this Mastriano, who's now running for governor in Pennsylvania, who got the Republican nomination, he will appoint the Secretary of State, and he led the effort to decertify this election, to put in alternate electors, to have an audit, these ninja turtle investigators looking over the election. It's almost beyond belief. Or Herschel Walker, who's running in Georgia, he is accused of wife beating. Now, these people are getting a somewhat free ride now, but they're just getting through the primary. Our candidates are quite remarkable. Among the states that are worth looking at are, or even just some other examples. There was in Ohio, J.D. Vance. So this so-called populist, he's the worst of the corporate leader of a Mitt Romney, who said, corporations are people, my friend, which is one of the reasons, but he with Bain Capital is not our president. And of the MAGA extremist Republicans. So he's a combination of the worst of all parts of that Republican Party. And it still remains to be seen who some of these other candidates are. We have remarkable candidates. So on the Senate side, among the top races are Arizona, Pennsylvania, John Fetterman is something else, Georgia, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Nevada, and then also Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida are being very seriously considered as the highest priorities of races in contention. But the truth is, there may be more. If you say, oh no, what about my state? We really have a shot. You may very well. It depends on what we do. The same on governor's races. And the same on, as you look down on state races and congressional races. By the way, one of the things that's so optimistic is that the state party operations and the popular grassroots operations, your DemCast counterparts in many different states, are working so well together in some of the states. In Wisconsin, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, there we have a juggernaut going, as well as the redistricting was not as bad. In fact, the redistricting, the National Redistricting Commission just put out a notice yesterday, even after the New York redistricting, which was not what we wanted, but they put out a statement to say the redistricting will be better after this round of redistricting than it was beforehand. So we're in a better shape now because people organized. It's what you know in your heart, you know in your blood. Then in addition, there are some issues that are motivating us. Stan Greenberg, the prominent pollster, just said that there are two key issues that, even in this period of being dispirited, are really energizing our population. And one is the potential, horrific, deceitful, illegal, unconstitutional Supreme Court decision that may come out, that just came out as a draft decision around Roe v. Wade. And if in fact it is overturned and reflects the Alito extremist MAGA Republican direction that reflects his faith, but not the faith of the rest of this country. And right now we should know that 70% of the population, there's one study says 2/3, another says 70% of the population does not think Roe should be overturned, and an even higher percentage thinks that the decision about abortion should be made between a woman and her doctor. And the way we talk about that just for language, and it is motivating our own base. And I've seen it happen as there's a movie called The James. I had started an underground abortion service in 1965 that was eventually the women of Jane, which was what we called this underground service, themselves learned how and provided in safety and with a caring community 11,000 abortions before Roe. There's now a movie on it called The James that will be on HBO on June 8th. And there is another movie coming out in September with Sigourney Weaver, who plays a version of me and another woman. Again, it's a slightly fictionalized version, but culturally interesting, called Call Jane. So this issue is motivating people and to get active, to not only vote, but to get involved. We saw massive demonstrations about a week ago around the country. The second issue that's really motivating people broadly, again, there are particular issues in particular constituencies, but broadly, is the question of corporate monopoly and price gouging. That's really what was behind this infant formula tragedy. There were 4 companies that control the whole field. You can't have monopoly capital, and you can't have this price gouging. That's what's going on with energy prices. That's what's going on with the airlines. There are other things at work also, but if there were not this price gouging, prices would go way down. And talk about prescription drugs. So we can motivate people when our candidates speak about these issues and when we carry forward these issues. I want to give you, by the way, the preferred message language to talk about abortion, which is the freedom. This is a dismantling, state by state, rule by rule. It's a dismantling, if they overturn Roe, of the freedom to decide the most intimate decision of a person's life about when, whether, and with whom we have a child. So I want to repeat that because that's an effective way to reach people who may not yet be persuaded. That this is a dismantling, state by state, rule by rule, of the freedom to decide the most intimate decision of a person's life, when, whether, and with whom we have a child. So it's about freedom. Choice seems frivolous to many people. This is not a frivolous decision. It's the most intimate decision. You personalize it. And for all of these, the telling of stories makes it even more effective. So those, I think, are 6 reasons. I hope I've been clear that it's the consequences, that our positions are popular. We therefore need to have turnout. We can be persuasive when we expose what the opposition is doing, these extremist MAGA Republicans, and so persuasion is also needed. Our real candidates are quite remarkable and are worthy of our support. And when it's not just, is this one good or this one good, but a choice between them, we can prevail if we do the work. That redistricting was more effective than we had anticipated that it would be. The January 6th hearings will give us an opportunity, but we've got to be there. We've got to promote this message. And then there are issues that play into our base and our support and motivate people, both for persuasion and for motivation of our base, mobilization of our base. There also are organizational reasons. Unions, the drive to unionization is greater than it's been in much of my lifetime. And unions are more self-confident. People are unionizing. Unions are popular. We need an alliance and a greater unity with them. I just heard that there was a 57% increase of people filing for unions with the National Labor Relations Board, the national entity that oversees union elections. And I'm particularly sensitive about this because I started a training center called Midwest Academy. And if you want to learn about organizing, Midwest Academy is a remarkable place to go. I no longer do the training, so I'm not not self-promotion, but we started the Academy with money I won from a back pay suit. But in the Trump days of the NLRB, and even in previous years at the NLRB, you wouldn't have been able to win the same case that was shut and dried when I won it in 1973. Young people are with us, but they don't feel engaged in the election. That's up to us. We need to take that action. There are now, I think, 169 days till the election. It's not an enormous amount of time, but it can be enough time if we take the action you all take, if we organize. There are 4 M's that I generally think we need to address in the organizing. 4 M's. We need to recruit members, people. How many people will you recruit? How many shifts will you sign up? How many phone calls made, letters written, postcards, texting? We need people, and we need to mark it and then confirm it on the voter file and make sure that we have increased number of people that we will be in touch with and turn out. Register and turn out. Second, message. That's why on both January 6th and on abortion, I've tried to share what are the most effective messaging. We need to say that message and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Repetition is our friend. By the way, repetition is our friend. And I don't know if I've told you yet, but repetition, Nick, what is repetition?
I believe it's our friend.
Repetition is our friend. And Jamie, what is repetition?
I think it's my best friend.
Okay. And you are the people who know about members and message and money. We do need money. How much will you raise? $50? $100? Will you find others who could give $1,000 or even more? But we have a goal. Members, message, money, and movement. We need to turn up and show up and be part of a broader movement, whether it's abortion or climate or Black Lives Matter or peace itself. We need to stand with each other. For those who are able, for those who are not able, we can sit, we can join arms, we can join voices, we can join hopes. And when we organize, we have changed this world. And if we organize now, we will change this world. And I've come on this call because Jamie and Nick and others who are at the core of your organization and DemCast is one of the most vital forces that we have to organize, to do the work, to show up every day and change this world. So I thank you for what you've done and what you're likely to do.
Well, I feel
I'm
ready.
fired up and ready to
go. Thank you, Heather, for those words. And just looking at the chat here, I think, like you said right at the beginning, it's important to acknowledge the fact that a lot of us feel kind of beat down by the bad news, by our life circumstances, by COVID and all these things, and we have to acknowledge that. But also, we need inspiration. We need to feel inspired, and I think the folks who are listening are clearly feeling very inspired. So thank you very much for those words.
By the way, I don't know, I don't want to go over my time, but I realized I didn't provide all of the, I can also give the governor's races. I think I skipped that.
Yeah.
And for those who are interested. So the governor's races include Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and what they've done to Whitmer, a Democratic, remarkable governor. She has now bodyguards because her life is being threatened. Nevada, Minnesota, I'd say are the highest priority. There may be others, but those are the highest priority. And you'll see there's an overlap of many of the other states. Oh, Georgia, somehow that, surprised that that was, let's see, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong list. I'm going to start again. On governors, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Kansas, Pennsylvania, and possibly Hawaii and Oregon. By the way, the victory in Oregon, both there were MAGA candidates who lost at the state and lower levels for all of those local positions. Many of them lost. And then also a real progressive was elected for a key congressional seat in the Democratic primary for a likely Democratic seat against Kurt Schrader, who's been in opposition to many of the things we've cared about. So those are governor's races: Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, and Colorado. Let's see, those are Secretary of State. Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Colorado, key Secretary of State efforts. And then there are state legislative races. And in Congress, there will be lists coming out. There is a national call that I help co-chair, and I think Jamie's come on sometimes, and we're glad to give regular updates and have you take it back to DemCast. So I don't know if you now need to move on to the rest of your agenda, or if anyone has a question you wanted to share.
Well, I know we do have one question is, how do we mainstream great ideas for unity and bringing folks together when we live in divisive districts?
I think I have 3 ideas. First, you have to see what the district really is like. There may be a lot of division, but we also may be the most popular position in the district, but our people may not be registered. They may not vote. What do the young people do? Are we reaching them? What do the people do who've kind of given up hope? So first of all, a district may be less divided than it even seems if we do the engagement, the registration, and the turnout. The second thing is it depends on what we do and who we are. Others can be hateful. I don't feel hateful. I actually feel motivated by great amounts of love. Love for people, love for the issues that they care about, love for their lives. And I want them to tell their story. And we need to convey that. And it's one of the reasons the messages and language that I proposed on some of these messages of our good friend, repetition of our message. It depends on what we do. And the third element is if you are in a district that is so extremely one way or another, and you don't think your work will be effective there, there are other places you can go for work. First of all, you might go statewide, and there's even a small number in your district may matter statewide for governors, senators, secretaries of state. There also, I live in Washington, D.C. I live in a place where there are local elections. They do matter. I've just identified who I'm voting for on my ballot. But it's not where my work is going to be needed as much. So when we get to the fight for DC statehood, we all need to be in that fight. So I'll probably work in Pennsylvania or Michigan on the governor's race, or Wisconsin, where there's governor and Senate that's up, and other positions, or Georgia. And so those are 3 thoughts about how to carry it forward. If the person who asked the question has any thoughts about what they think we can do, your thoughts are as capable as mine. You all are activists. You know what this is like from the ground up, and we need to share our best insights.
And if you want to do young voter registration, bars is a wonderful place. So all it takes is one person at that table that is registered to vote that says, your guys aren't registered, and the guys will fall over themselves to register to vote. So,
And so you say bars, beauty parlors, barber shops,
parks.
but we do need to also encourage that we're looking for the areas of the people who we know have been historically underrepresented and need to be engaged more. So young people, people of color, in many places, women and unmarried women, key populations. I'll let you get on with your own business. I know you've got a lot of business to do.
Thank
but
you
I
so much,
appreciate
Heather,
you
for
inviting
joining.
me in.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. I think everybody needed this today, so thank you.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Should we, do you want to go over, do you want to go over
Midterms?
midterms, or do you want to do the video?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do the video.
Okay, so we have a, speaking of midterms, we have a special video. Oops.
Somebody who wanted to join us but needed to send a video instead.
But you know what? We will take it.
Look at this.
Hello, DemCast. It's U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. Listen, the work you all do is vital in amplifying the progress we've made in Washington and the work we must continue to do. Grassroots support from folks like you helped make history in Georgia in the last election. More importantly, you made a difference. It's the honor of my life to represent Georgia and work for the people. That's why I wake up every morning and fight to protect the dignity of work, to lower costs for families and expand access to affordable health care. I'm so proud of the work that I have done to support our veterans and service members and work in securing jobs and relief for our hardworking farmers and small business owners. And I'm proud of the work we've done together, but there's so much more to get done. People shouldn't have to choose between life-saving medication like insulin and putting food on the table. And our young people have a mortgage before they get the chance to have a mortgage. That's not right. We need to fight for student loan relief so students won't have to be saddled with this crushing debt right at the beginning of their work lives, so they too can achieve the American dream. But here's the thing. We're going to need to turn out record numbers to the polls in Georgia if we're going to win this race. That means I'm going to need your help getting the word out, raising the resources we'll need, and fighting misinformation. We know that after our win in 2021, some state legislators in Georgia and all over the country got busy trying to make it harder to vote, signing new voter suppression provisions into law. It's not going to be easy, but together we can win this fight. We can bring it home again. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Let's keep the faith and keep looking up.
So if you guys aren't inspired after Heather Booth and Senator Warnock,
Then if that's not going to do it for you, then I just don't know what we can do. No, I mean, how great is he? And it's one of those races that Heather was talking about. That's a vital race to make sure that we bring home, as the senator said. Yeah, with Raphael Warnock and Stacey Abrams on one ballot together, that's a pretty impressive ballot. So,
well, and not only that, no matter who wins the Secretary of State race, it will either be a Black man or an Asian woman. So, I mean, how exciting is that trifecta of a ticket?
yeah. Yep. So, and just in terms of people who have amazing oratory prowess and are like real true leaders. It's a very cool thing. So I know people are looking at Georgia, and we'll be doing a lot of pushing for Georgia elections this year. It might make sense. Should we just recap really quick for people the mobilize for midterms? Right along the line, I swear we did not tell Heather Booth what to say or anything, but she basically outlined our mobilize for midterm strategy for this year. And Jamie, if you want to drop the link in chat while I'm going here, but we have 3 categories of activity that we're going to help people sort of engage in, and one is around good point, Peggy. One of them is around keeping the house, and that is just, yes, we have some overall good news around redistricting, but it's still like Heather said, extreme headwinds going into the November election. So it's going to be a big lift, but it's definitely doable for all the reasons that she talked about. So we will be focusing at DemCast Central. We'll be focusing on the races that are going to be most hotly contested, that are basically right on that wire between blue and red, and trying to give people as many resources as possible to amplify on social as our core work, but also to engage in all the different types of activism activities like phone banking and text banking and postcards and door knocking if you're local. So keeping the house is a big category. Expanding the Senate, as she was saying, 2 more seats. What could we do with 2 more seats? Well, we can kill the filibuster and actually get some work done. So it's absolutely critical that we keep seats like Warnock and Mark Kelly and Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada, but also flip some seats, and so really important races in states like Wisconsin to take down Ron Johnson, and Pennsylvania and North Carolina, and states like that. So we'll be again packaging social content and activism opportunities for everybody for those races. And then the last category is the protect democracy category. And that's really about what Heather was talking about there toward the end, the governors and the secretaries of state. Look, they're going to try, these Republican state legislatures are going to try and overturn the election results in their states if they don't go their way in 2024. We know they will. They're not really being quiet about it. So having governors and secretaries of state who can stand in the way of those actions by state legislatures is going to be exceptionally important for democracy as we go forward. So those are the buckets. The link that Jamie dropped in is our join link, and some of you may have already filled out one form that was a shorter form, and then you should have gotten this link in your email. And this is a really important one to fill out, because this is how we get you sorted into which categories you want to focus on. If you want to focus on the House, the Senate, the governor's races.
And if any of you are already in Twitter rooms of like keep the Senate or keep the House, expand the Senate, you don't need to check those again.
Yeah. So definitely fill that out, everybody. We're not, like you all know, we don't barrage y'all with emails and texts and ask for money and all that kind of stuff all the time. We just want to make sure that we have everybody lined up who wants to help with amplification and on the fighting disinformation side throughout the election cycle. So definitely sign up for that, and we will be unveiling some like candidate lists and web pages dedicated to each of these categories just over the next number of days. So excited about it. It's midterms, baby. It's time to roll. So, here we go. And then Jamie, you also wanted to talk about the January 6th.
Yes, so, we're about 2 weeks and 2 days away. We are working with the Not Above the Law Coalition on messaging so that we can have, cohesive messaging across the board. And so we do have January 6th Twitter rooms. That these will be temporary, only going for the next few weeks, possibly a month, depending on what legislation comes out. First hearing will be on the 9th. I know that there have been a lot of reports on leaked reports on what days these hearings are going to happen. They are leaked reports. They are not from the committee. They are not finalized. So just want to give everyone a word of caution when you're sharing out these the leak schedule, that the only thing that we know for sure at this point is that the first and the last are going to be primetime public. The committee is hoping for a lot more. So this is all subject to change. And then our briefing in 2 weeks, is going to be completely dedicated to January 6th. We're going to be joined by people from CAP Action, Stand Up America, and Defend Democracy Project as kind of a preview of what to expect and how to message. We want to make sure that we're all on messaging. So we have a question on abortion rights. Really, we kind of do bundle that under equality because that's really what it's about.
Also, I'll just say this is going to be absolutely central to all of the messaging that we're sharing around the elections too.
Yes.
So you're gonna see a lot of Roe and reproductive freedom content coming from all sides from us. So I don't think you'll be able to miss it.
Yeah, I mean, there was, on that, there was a massive surge of increase in women voter registrations. Voter registration among women for this time of year surged 65% since the league draft came out. And there was also another generic House poll on if the election was held today, would you vote Democrat or Republican? Democrats were up 44 to 39. When they rephrased it of would you support the pro-choice Democrat or the pro-life Republican, Democrats stayed the same at 44. Republicans dropped by 8 points. And there's a reason they don't want to talk about this right now. That's why you don't see Republicans doing a happy dance in the street because they're trying to avoid it. So, although they are saying that poor people should take a back seat to people with money for the baby shortage formula. So yeah, there will be a lot more information on January 6th. The witness list is still being finalized. They're still dealing with court cases, trying to get even more documents. So what we do know is that there will be some bombshells that are dropped that have not been leaked. And another thing that they found really working with polling, and you heard Heather touch on this, is using the frame MAGA Republicans. And so there has been a lot of research done on that, and that really tends to get the independents and the moderate-leaning conservatives, calling them MAGA Republicans, because it kind of, instead of putting all the Republicans in a giant box, it signals out the far-right faction to give the rest of the Republicans kind of an excuse to move. So.
There was a question in there about Heather, we're going to have toolkits, and across all these things that we're talking about, the midterms project, the January 6th project. Yes, we will have toolkits. We are going to have our goal this year. Well, certainly for the rapid response, the January 6th one, we're going to have a toolkit that's going to be like basically like consistently updated, because the narrative and the story is going to be moving along over the course of the public hearings. So our goal is to have a toolkit that people can come back to, where there's fresh content, the relevant content that's videos that have just been posted that people can share, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be very live, and then we're wanting to do the same thing with the midterms toolkits this year too, is to just have exceptionally great content with good messaging, but that's every time when people come back to the toolkit, it's fresh, and there's new stuff in there. So we're going to work really hard on that this year to give everybody the best tools that we can give.
Yeah, if you guys use the toolkits like during the voting rights debates, it will be the same thing where, constantly new stuff. There's a bunch of organizations working together. We have a rapid response team set up. We're working with the actual committee on what that messaging will be, so that we can really, push this overarching narrative. We're already seeing Republicans trying to discredit the hearings by saying it's partisan. So, we just need to keep reminding people this is not partisan. This was an attack on our country. Avoid framing it that this was just Trump, that this was just one day. This really was a buildup, and something was like 48% of Michigan Republicans tried to overturn the election. That's the kind of stuff we need to focus on. And again, this is taking away our freedom, whether it's the freedom to choose what happens to our body, whether it's the freedom to vote in the people that we want. So this is all about taking away freedom.
Yep. And there was a question, move so fast.
So I saw there was one about how to watch.
Yeah, how to watch, yeah.
The mainstream, the primetime ones will be carried pretty much everywhere, on network TV as well as cable, MSNBC, CNN, but ABC, CBS, NBC are all going to carry it on network, plus all the cable shows. I would be surprised if Fox did. The ones that are not prime time will probably be on C-SPAN.
Yeah, and just remember, like, it is important. We all I want to watch them, right? So I want to sit there and watch them. Even if they are prime time, there's only going to be a certain segment of the US population that's actually going to sit down and watch the hearings. The socialization of the content is going to be absolutely critical for these hearings. It's more important than whether it's a daytime or a primetime airing on TV, which people don't really watch anymore. So yeah, so just always remember that it's very important.
And between the hearings, we want to make sure that we keep this drumbeat up.
Right.
And so we will be sending out during the hearings, we will be sending out daily talking points of this is what we need to drumbeat today. I am going to steal a line from Heather Booth: repetition is our friend. So, you may see, 4 or 5 social media posts that are basically saying the same thing, just to repeat that over and over and over again in a different way.
Repetition is our
friend.
That's right.
And then there are going to be national watch events, particularly in key states. So if anyone is interested in hosting a watch event, there is a call Wednesday night about that. And then
cool. That's the one that's the link that you just put in chat.
Yep, that is for
hosting a watch event.
That's for hosting. I'm trying to find the link for, well, as it gets closer, right now there are about 35 National Watch events planned. Unfortunately, the website is down.
Well, we'll be sending stuff around, so we'll make sure that people get it. And there was a question up above, I think it was from Anne, about can we drop Heather's messaging talking points in chat. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll summarize them and get them out to people, because they were important points, so and ones that we totally agree with. So
yeah, and then we also will be doing some Twitter spaces during the hearings. We'll be doing one the day before with People for the American Way, as well as with some other Stand Up America, and then crew will be doing one after the first hearing. I believe they're planning to do it as soon as it ends, but there will be a lot of Twitter spaces kind of recapping and doing messaging points. So now the chat is going so fast, I'm trying
yeah,
not
I know.
to miss anything. How can we get Heather Booth to come to Pennsylvania? I'm a local
Right?
official.
Yeah, no
I'll
kidding.
tell you, I heard her speak, it's probably been close to 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, in Iowa, and it still resonated with me 3 years later, which is why when I saw everybody was kind of depressed, I was like, I'm gonna invite Heather and see if she can pick everybody else up.
It's so important. We have to feel like we can win, which we can. But also understand that it's a long-term thing, and sustained energy is really important over the next 6 months. So we're just about at time. Have you spotted any final questions that we should address, Jamie?
Just about the messaging documents, and this event tonight's will be up on our YouTube channel in the next day or two. So
and we're streaming to Facebook, right? So it'll
yes, we're live streaming
it's over
to
on
our
Facebook.
Yep,
Yeah.
our DemCast Facebook group. And I know I saw someone asked if they don't have TV. A lot of C-SPAN you can stream, and I believe that I think a lot of these you'll be able to find some type of thread to it. So my kitten went to sleep, so
Yeah, I should. Somebody in chat asked for the kittens, so we both have kittens.
I can go get a tiny one if everyone wants to see a tiny one. They're loud. Yes.
I'm sure there would be some takers. Thank you all, everybody, for joining us today. Great meeting. Love you all. Looking forward to really digging in on the January 6th stuff and the midterms work with all of you. And we will see you around, and feel free to stick around for a kitten sighting. This is Lulu. Lulu says, goodbye, everybody. Oh, she's on my back. Oh, wow, Jamie. Jamie got a handful.
Well, I tried to only take one or two, but that did not work. So.
Oh, man. So adorable.
This is the one I think this is going to be little Zelensky. He is the ringleader.
Oh, yeah. He looks like a Zelensky.
So, well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Okay, up.
If anybody's in Utah wants a kitten, let me know.
All right, DemCast out. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.